It's PK here, and today I'm going to be talking about the effect that the US presidential elections and the interest rate reduction recently in Australia will have on property prices across Australia in the short term in 2021. All right. So my name's PK, and I help people buy positive cash flow property under market value with huge capital growth without using a buyer's agent, without using their weekends at inspections, and also without wasting months doing research. Okay, so let's get into this. So the elections just happened. The official winner has not been announced yet, but we all know that Biden has won. But I'm not going to be talking about the politics of things today. I'm not so interested in debating or discussing their social policies and things like that. I'm just going to be talking about the economic agenda. Now, what we do know about Joe Biden's economic agenda is that it's probably going to be a little bit more pared back than Donald Trump. Now, the reason for that is that he wants to really concentrate on limiting the coronavirus spread in the US. So he's, in that sense, probably going to be a little bit less aggressive in bolstering or boosting the US economy versus Donald Trump. On the flip side, over the long term, Donald Trump's policies were more about protectionism, American jobs, American livelihoods, farmers, manufacturing, etc. Whereas Joe Biden is probably, according to what he's saying, going to be more a little bit like his predecessor in the Democratic Party, Obama, who was less nationalistic, not to be confused with patriotism, less nationalistic, more about free trade and all that sort of thing. So the more free trade flourishes, the more other economies in the world will also flourish, including Australia. Free trade is generally a good thing for economies because they allow the economies to specialize in what they do well. And we know in the Australian context, we really rely on exports to India, to China, to Korea, to Japan of our commodities, our iron ore, our zinc, our copper, our coal, whether you like it or not. There are so many things that we rely on, and if the world economy is booming, then that means that Australia is booming. Okay, so from an economic perspective, Joe Biden, in one sense, isn't as good because he's going to be paring back how quickly the economy re-emerges in the States because he's trying to contain coronavirus and the lockdowns and the things like that. But on the other side, he's less nationalistic. So on balance, and I know there's other things to consider, but on balance, it's hard to say whether the election win or potential win for Joe Biden is a good thing for Australian house prices or not. But my hunch is that regardless of who actually wins, regardless of who actually won, house prices are going to do what they would have done regardless of what was happening in the US. Okay, so that's kind of the US election. It's a bit of a non-story. I'm not going to make it out to be bigger than it actually is. So those are my thoughts on it. For the purposes of thinking about whether you should invest now into property or wait, don't let the US decision impact your decision at all. However, what should impact your decision is the interest rate cuts that were recently made. Okay, so the recent news from the RBA this week on Tuesday is that the interest rate has been cut from 0.5% to 0.1%. Now, I'm going to rewind. I'm going to zoom out to 2013 to 2017. Now, what happened in this period was that Melbourne house prices boomed following the boom of Sydney house prices. And of course, associated regional centres like Geelong, Wollongong, others have also benefited from those epicenters of house price booms. But what was the underlying reason for those booms? Of course, there's many things that can be said, but the main thing, according to statistical regression analysis that I've done, my team has done, but also the RBA has done, CoreLogic has done, etc., one of the main fundamental reasons for that boom was that interest rates came down significantly in that time period. In fact, there are some people, including my team of data scientists, that I've had to research this last year, half of the boom in Sydney and Melbourne can be attributed to such a rapid decline in interest rates. Okay, so how does that work? Interest rates reduce, that means it's easier to borrow money, it's also cheaper to borrow money. Okay, two things, easy to get a loan, but also cheaper to get a loan. Those two things combined mean that all these people on the sidelines who were thinking about getting another loan but couldn't afford it, or people that were thinking about getting a loan but they couldn't afford it, or they actually simply couldn't get one at all. Now all those people could have got loans and did get loans, and that means that availability of credit spiked and more people jumped into the housing market and bought property. Okay, so whether that's good or whether that's bad, that's a reality. So what that tells me, and what that tells us, and what that tells just anyone interested in data, is that every time interest rates drop, house prices go up. That is a fact. Now, it's not a instantaneous effect. The lag is about 2 to 3 months if you look at the data. But that's a fact. And just as a tangent here, I'm just going to talk about unemployment. So I know that people think that when unemployment increases, when the economy does badly, that house prices must fall. Here's the thing. If you look at Australian unemployment over the last 20 years, including the recession that we had to have 20 years ago, all right, every time unemployment has gone up, house prices, with a small lag, have also gone up. Okay, I'm going to say that again, that's not a mistake. Every time unemployment has gone up, house prices have gone up. Okay, and that is including this year. House prices have gone up in the last 12 months by 3.4%, even though unemployment has been the highest it's ever been for a long time. So why is that? What is the reason behind that? Okay, so for most people, they'll look at the news, they'll look at SMH, they'll look at Sydney Morning Herald, News.com, CNN, wait, we don't have CNN here, 7 News, 9 News, SBS maybe, if you're a little bit left-wing, nothing against SBS. And you'll say that, oh, unemployment's increasing, big lines out to Centrelink, house prices are going to crash. Wrong. Every time unemployment increases, interest rates come down. Every time unemployment increases, what does the government do? We don't have a free market government. We don't have a laissez-faire approach to managing our economy. The government steps in when they need and want to step in. So every time unemployment goes up, the first thing that the government and the Reserve Bank do is they reduce interest rates and they put money into the system. Now, when the money goes into the system, that means that you and me, everyday people, folks that want to get ahead in life, folks that want to generate a passive income for themselves and for their family, folks that want to leave the 9 to 5 now have more money. And for those that are able, they invest it. Now, you can invest it in stocks or you can invest it in property. Everyone knows in Australia how much we love property. Property in Australia, residential, is potentially as safe, as blue chip an asset class as you'll ever find in the entire world. Okay, so what that means is when unemployment increases, and this is proven, house prices also increase. Now, I'm not going to tackle in this video whether that's sustainable, whether that's going to cause a bubble, whether in 10 years' time our kids, or maybe not 10 years' time, a generation on, our kids will suffer from all that. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that when interest rates go down like they have been and fiscal policy steps in, people have more cash, people invest in property, whether it's to live in or whether it's to invest, right? That means house prices go up. What has happened over the last 2 weeks is that every single capital city in Australia has experienced house price growth. And I mean, you can agree with me or not agree with me. That's, it's not for me to convince you what to do, but it's for me to educate you to say that based on historical regression analysis, based on historical trends, based on historical proof, what we can expect over the next 12 months starting right now is some pretty good price growth. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to go up 20%. I'm not going to say that we're going to go into a boom, but there will definitely be many suburbs that will boom. Okay, many suburbs that will boom. Some have already started to boom. In fact, some never stopped booming even through COVID. For those of you who are my clients, or even for those of you who aren't my clients, you know how to read the data. if you do, okay? You'll be able to see these. So if you're sitting on the sidelines, look, there's really no need to, unless you have a sort of projection in your mind that, you know, house prices are in a bubble and they're going to crash. But I'll do a separate video on that as well. But the key take home of this video is US elections, meaningless impact on Australian house prices. The fact that the Australian Reserve Bank is lowered interest rates and is now printing money, quantitative easing, huge impact on property prices. I know that in 2021, house prices are going to increase the most that they have since 2016. That is my estimation based on data, famous last words, or, you know, potential for saying I told you so. I don't really care about that though. That's the fact, okay? So not everywhere is going to increase. Certainly not if you buy off the plan to some developer who's getting a rebate from, you know, someone else. If you buy well, established properties, positive cash flow, high growth, potential for value add, all the rest of it, then you'll do really well in 2021. So knuckle down and find these places. They're available. There's dozens of locations that are worthwhile investing right now. Okay, but I want to hear what you think. Do you disagree with anything I've said? I'm more than happy to take your comments or questions. If you have a different view on the election or a different view on the interest rates, let me know. But also tell me, do you think Australian house prices are going to rise in 2021? Leave a yes or a no or your opinion in the comments right below. Once again, my name's PK, and I'll leave a link below as well where you can click to find out more about how I help my clients. I don't charge $10,000 to $15,000 per property. I'm not a buyer's agent. I help in a different way. Okay, guys, well, if you're watching on YouTube, just subscribe below and you'll get more informative videos like this. On Facebook, just like or love this video. It would mean a lot to me. Thanks, guys. Catch you later. Bye.